Welcome to your new day. Allison's off. Poppy Harlow is here. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
We are getting our first look at Donald Trump's face to the world, his top political advisors, the people who will be dealing with the media and with the other electeds down there to create change in this country. RNC Chair Priebus is in there as the chief of staff. But then comes the real story. Steve Bannon. He is a promoter of the alt-right. He has just been named a White House top strategist.
Yep. And in Donald Trump's announcement, he said the two men will be equals. Also, Donald Trump, in his first interview since becoming president-elect, speaking with 60 Minutes about his top priorities, softening his stance on some of those key campaign promises like the wall, like repealing and replacing Obamacare. We have complete coverage. Let's start first with our Phil Mattingly in Washington. Good morning, Phil.
Well, good morning, Poppy. Every transition process, obviously, there are a lot of eyes on the hires. It's a parlor game. It's reading the tea leaves. You want to know who's going to be running which agency over which industry, who's going to have the most power in the White House. Never more so than with Donald Trump, though, as people try and get their heads around not just his candidacy, his victory, but also the White House he's going to run, getting a good hint with two hires yesterday. One, assuaging a lot of the concerns about how he'll deal with mainstream Republicans. The other, only serving to raise alarm bells. President-elect Donald Trump's administration starting to take shape. Trump naming RNC Chairman Reince Priebus as his chief of staff, and campaign CEO Steve Bannon as his chief strategist and senior counselor, creating two dueling power centers and a potential rivalry between his two top aides. Priebus, the ultimate Washington insider with deep connections to GOP leaders. Bannon, the polar opposite, a man who has operated on the Republican fringe as executive chairman of Breitbart.com, one with a known talent for riling up the grassroots while maintaining close ties to the alt-right movement, within which anti-Semitism and racist tropes are pervasive. Bannon's appointment drawing sharp condemnation. The spokesman for Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid saying in a statement, quote, "It is easy to see why the KKK views Trump as their champion when Trump appoints one of the foremost peddlers of white supremacist themes and rhetoric as his top aide." The CEO of the Anti-Defamation League calling it a, quote, "sad day." And the executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations says the appointment of Bannon sends the disturbing message that the anti-Muslim conspiracy theories and white nationalist ideology will be welcome in the White House. As thousands across the country protest against Trump for the fifth straight day, Trump addressing his supporters who have harassed minorities in his first TV interview post-election.
I say stop it if it helps. I will say this, and I'll say it right to the camera, stop it.
Trump also appearing to tweak a central tenet of his immigration proposal.
They're talking about a fence in the Republican Congress.
Sure.
Would you accept a fence?
For certain areas I would, but certain areas the wall is more appropriate. I'm very good at this. It's called construction. But
so part wall, part fence?
Yeah, it could be. There could be some fencing.
And discussing his Supreme Court appointees, calling same-sex marriage a settled issue, but taking a hard stance against national abortion rights.
Having to do with abortion, if it ever were overturned, it would go back to the states. So it would go back to the states.
Some women won't be able to get an abortion.
No, it'll go back to the states.
By state? No, some.
Yeah. Well, they'll perhaps have to go to another state.
And Chris, one of Donald Trump's kind of prominent campaign promises was this. He was going to call for his attorney general to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate Hillary Clinton. Now, his campaign staff, his now transition staff behind the scenes, I'm told, has basically been telling him to walk away from that, move away from anything that might hurt his efforts to, as he says, bring the country together. He was asked about that last night on 60 Minutes, Chris. He didn't dismiss it outright. He said he was still thinking about it and would have an answer soon. Chris?